Hey, this is Katie from the Floral Feather Fiber Art and Design Studio, and today I'm going to show you how to make this shaggy Christmas tree wall hanging. So you're going to first need something to hang your panel from. This is a piece of driftwood I'm using that's 14 inches long. You could also use a dowel rod. You're also going to need 6mm single strand twist cord. This is the color oregano from Ganxxet. I'm cutting mine into 20 pieces that are 8 feet long. And then you are also going to need 70 pieces of cord that are 8 inches long. This is Golden Natural from Bobbiny. It's 5mm. I get my Bobbiny from Mad for Macrame. And then to make the stump of the tree, you are going to need a piece of brown cord. This is chocolate brown and 4mm, also from Ganxxet. I'm cutting it into a piece that's 3 feet long. And then you are also going to need a ribbon. This is 12 inches long. You can use any kind of ribbon that you would like. And then you're also going to need a pair of scissors, also a ruler. And I have links to where you can purchase these materials in the description below. Let's get started. So first what I'm going to do is I am going to be hanging my cord on the driftwood using a lark's head knot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of cord, I'm going to fold it in half so it's even at the ends, and I'm going to work my hands up and I'm going to make a loop at the top of the cord here. And then I'm going to place it over the driftwood and I'm going to bring the ends through that loop. And then I'm going to cinch it up to the top of the driftwood there, and I've made my first lark's head knot. I like to start at the center and work my way out. I find that it's just a little bit more even that way. But you can work from one end to the other or however you want it. Just make sure that all of your cord is attached to the driftwood or the dowel rod, whatever you're using. Okay, so now that I have all of my cord attached to the wood here, I'm going to be creating just a pattern of square knots. It's called an alternating square knot pattern, and I'm going to show you how it's done. So first I'm going to take the first 4 pieces of cord, and I'm going to take the piece that's on the left, and then the piece that's on the right. They're going to be my working cords. So the first, we're going to start with the one on the left. I'm going to take that tail. It's going to go over the 2 cords in the middle. Then I'm going to take that right cord and I'm going to bring it over the tail from the left. It's going to make what looks like a 4. Then I'm going to take that tail and I'm going to bring it behind the 2 cords in the middle and through the loop and then cinch it up. Now we're going to do the same thing but with the other side. So take the right cord, bring that tail over the 2 cords in the middle. You're going to take that left cord, it's going to go over the tail, then bring it behind and through the loop. Cinch it up, and now you have your very first square knot. So let's do it again with the next 4 cords. So I'm going to take the cord on the left and the cord on the right. The cord on the left is going to go over the 2 cords in the middle. Cord on the right is going over that tail, and then I'm taking that tail behind the 2 cords in the middle through the loop and cinching it up. And again, with the right side, the right cord is going over the 2 in the middle, then that left cord is going over, then behind, through the loop, and cinch up. Now we're going to do the entire row. Okay, so I just finished up my first row of square knots. So now what I'm going to do is move on to the second row, and I am going to be making a square knot in between the first two square knots from the top row. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the two cords that are all the way to the left, and I'm going to be taking the next four cords. So the third, fourth, fifth, sixth cord, and I'm going to be making a square knot with them. So just like we did in the top row, that left cord is going over, right cord is going over behind through the loop and cinch it up. And then again, that right cord is going over, left cord over, behind through the loop and cinch it up. So we're going to be completing this pattern all the way down. I'm going to continue with this row of making a square knot in between each of the two square knots from the top row. And I am just going to keep on going all the way down until the panel is complete. So now that my panel is complete here, I have a total of 21 rows of square knots. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the excess cord here. I'm going to use a rotary cutter, but you can also just trim off the ends while it's hanging. But let me show you how to use it with the rotary cutter. Okay, so to cut the fringe using a rotary cutter, I'm going to lay my panel on my cutting mat, and I'm just going to straighten up the fringe so it's nice and straight and even. I want it to be as even as possible so I can have the best cut I can get. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the bottom of the panel with the lines on the cutting mat here. Okay, and now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to cut a 4-inch fringe here. So I'm going to line up my ruler with the lines on the cutting mat. So that way I know it's nice and even. I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm just going to press and just cut using the ruler as my guide. I'll probably have to go do another pass just because this is really thick cord. Okay, and there we go. That's how I'm going to cut the fringe with the rotary cutter here. And you can see that the fringe is really nice and even. This is my favorite way of cutting fringe. Okay, so now it's time to add the tree to the panel here. So as I mentioned before, I'm using 5mm cord from Bobbiny. This is Golden Natural. I get it from Mad for Macrame. And you need 70 pieces of cord that are 8 inches long. You can cut it ahead of time, or you can do what I'm doing here, and I'm cutting 8 inches of cord as I go along. I just find that it's easier for me to cut it as I go instead of all at once at the beginning. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to start at the 4th row here, and I'm going to count from the side 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to take 2 8-inch cords and I'm going to push it in through the space after the 4th square knot there. And now I'm going to count from the other side, make sure it's even. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now I'm going to push the ends through. So basically I'm just going around that center square knot there. Okay, so I'm going to turn my piece over and I'm going to take all the ends and I'm going to push the ends through the space above that square knot. All right, now I'm going to, so it should look like that. I'm going to turn it back over And I'm going to pull these two out just a little bit so I can create a space, and I'm going to push the ends through there. And I'm going to pull them nice and snug. All right, so I got this piece out of the way, and now I'm going to be putting cords through the square knots directly underneath that. So I'm going to cut 4 pieces of cord that are 8 inches long. Okay, so I'm going to take 2 pieces of cord, and I'm going to take one side and put the ends through the left side of the square knot directly under the square knot that's at the top. And now I'm going to be putting the other ends on the other side of that square knot. Turn it over, take all the ends of the cords and push them through the hole above that square knot. Just like so. Okay, turn it back over and bring all the ends through the piece that is over the square knot. And then pull so it's nice and snug. All right, now we're going to do around the square knot to the right. And then all the ends, gather them together and push them through the hole on the top. And then bring them through the loop there. Okay. So now one thing that you can do, because you can see that the ends are going to be uneven, you can trim as you go along, or you can trim all the way at the end. Sometimes I like to trim as I go along. So I'm going to show you here. One way I do it is I just lay a piece of cardboard so that way I don't get the ends all through out the panel here. And I just trim the cord so I just don't have any like crazy long pieces. I kind of like the uneven look a little bit. It just helps with that shaggy effect. Okay, but let's keep on going with adding the pieces of our short cord here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip this next row of square knots. And I'm going to be working with the square knot that's directly under the square knot we just did. So again, I'm going to be cutting a lot more pieces of 8-inch cord. And take 2 of them. And again, the square knot directly under the one we just did. Push the ends through the left, then to the right, go around that square knot there. Turn it over, push through the hole above the square knot. And then turn it over and pull through. Okay, so now we're going to do it again with the square knot to the right of that. Then turn it over. Then you can see it starts to make a pretty cool design on the back. right, and so now that we've finished 2 here, we are going to be making this pattern around the next 3 square knots. Okay, now I finished up with this one here. So again, pull it, make sure it's nice and snug. You can see our trees starting to take shape here. So I'm making 2 rows, skipping a row, 2 rows, and skipping a row. So now I am going to cut myself some more cord first. And I'm going to take 2 pieces of cord. Again, we're going to be skipping a row and then going around the square knot directly under the square knot that we did in the previous section. Okay, so again, I'm going to be skipping another row. And I'm going to be working around the square knot directly under the square knot from the previous section. Okay, and I'm going to pull this one nice and snug. And see our trees coming to life here. And now I'm just going to be doing one more section. So I'm going to get these up and out of the way. Cut myself some more pieces of cord here. So I'm just going to be skipping one more row. And now I'm going to be starting with the square knot here. Make the pattern that we've been doing, and then this will be my last section. Okay, so now that we've finished our tree, I'm going to brush it out. I prefer to use a comb, but you can use a brush or a pet brush, whatever works best for you. And I just like brushing every single which way and just making sure that every piece of cord is combed out really nice and it's really nice and soft and fluffy. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I need to make sure that there is room to add the trunk of the tree to the bottom. So I'm going to be trimming a little bit off the bottom of the tree here. So I'm going to turn it to the side, grab my cardboard, and place that underneath. And again, comb it out and make sure that it's nice and smooth. And I'm just going to trim a little bit off. Anywhere from, a quarter of an inch to a half an inch off the bottom here. Okay. And get that out of the way. And you can see that I've exposed the bottom row of square knots there. Well, really the bottom 2 row of square knots. Then comb that out. And so now we're going to be grabbing our piece of brown cord. And I'm going to be going around the second from the last row of square knots. I'm going to be going around that square knot that's in the very center. You can use your fingers, but I just find it's easier to use a darning needle. So I'm going to put the end of the cord through the darning needle here. And I'm going to go behind, and I'm going to insert my darning needle through the hole on the left and then go over and bring it through the hole on the right. And basically what I'm going to be doing is just wrapping the brown cord around that center square knot until I get a thick enough section of brown cord that makes a nice little trunk. Okay, so that looks good. I'm going to kind of spread it out, fluff it out a little bit. And I'm going to turn the entire panel over, kind of straighten out the fringe there. It got caught in the brown cord there. And then I'm just going to take the 2 ends and I'm just going to overhand knot it so it's secure. Okay, that's nice and tight. And now I'm just going to snip off the ends here. Okay, so now we have the trunk of our tree and we're ready to add the bow. So first I'm going to show you just how I make a bow. I just place my ribbon on my macrame board here. I make a knot and then I make bunny ears with the ribbon and then do another overhand knot with those bunny ears. And then pull nice and snug. And then here I'm going to be doing some adjusting to my bow. So I just kind of like pull the ends of the bow and then retighten it at the top there. And then keep pulling and tugging and doing some twisting, things like that, until the bow just is looking the way I want it to look. All right, so now what we're going to do is I've got a hot glue gun that's heated up here. I personally just like to use hot glue and put a little dab at the top of the tree, take that finished bow, and just pop it on. If you're not a hot glue person and you want to take some needle and thread and sew it on, that works too. But hot glue just works easier for me. So now that that's secure, I'm going to just trim the ends of the bow here. I want my ends just to be a little bit shorter, but if you like the longer look, that's cool too. All right, so now we have the bow, and now I am going to show you how we are going to hang this panel. So on either side, I'm going to make constrictor knots. So let me show you how to do that. So we're going to turn the piece upside down and over. And I'm going to cut a really long piece of my 6mm cord. Really, it's going to be about 5 feet long. And I'm going to start on the left side, and I'm going to leave quite a substantial tail, up to like 12 inches long. And so I'm going to go over the end of my driftwood here, and then I'm going to take that tail and I'm going to cross over the cord so it's making an X right there. Okay, so then bring the tail under, and it's going to go over the other part of the cord there, so the longer part of the cord. So then I'm going to take that end and I'm going to slide it under that X that we made. Now the end of my cord is split, so it's a little tricky to work with. Okay, there we go. So now that everything is secure, I'm just going to pull it nice and tight. And this is why it's called a constrictor knot, because it's basically constricting the piece of wood. And once it's secure, it's not going to come undone. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that long piece of cord. Well, I'm going to tighten it a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm going to take that long piece of cord and I'm going to bring it to the other side of the wood. And now here you're going to want to be careful, because once you want to make sure that you know how much space you want to be from where the hanging's going to hang and the top of the wood. I like to just leave a couple of inches, maybe like 3 inches of space there. So then I'm going to take that long tail and I'm going to place it over the end of the wood just like we did on the other side. And we're going to cross it over and make an X and bring that tail under. Then it's going to go over that piece of cord that's going across the center. So then I'm going to take the end, kind of pull the X up a little bit, and then push my end underneath that X. Pull it through, and then pull it nice and tight. I like to pull it as tight as I possibly can. It's probably not necessary, but that's the way I like to do it. I like to make sure that my knots do not come out, especially the ones that are being hung. So then I'm going to trim the excess off. Now, if you want to weave the ends underneath the back of the square knots, you can do that, or you can just use some hot glue and hide them behind the hanging. All right, and there we go. You have our shaggy Christmas tree wall hanging. Thank you so very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.